Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Raving Patients Podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Dr. Len Tao. Sorry for that. And I'm really excited today. I have someone who I've met many years ago at the ADOM meeting, which is the Office Managers meeting on a yearly basis, and recently reconnected with her at the Speakers Consulting Network, and I've actually interviewed a number of people on there over the past few episodes. So this young lady entered into the Spotlight on Speaking contest and did a fabulous job. I loved what she had to say, and I wanted her to share her message with the listeners and viewers. As you know, we're doing both audio and video versions of this podcast. So today's guest is Kelly Lynch, and I'm going to have Kelly introduce herself because she has a nice biography, and I don't want to read the whole thing and bore the listeners. So I'm going to basically let her introduce herself in a second, but we're going to be talking about today communicate your way to happiness and satisfaction. And we're going to cover topics such as team cross-training, increasing your case acceptance by using the right words and motivation. We're going to talk about keeping happy patients paying after you exit insurances and PPOs. We'll talk a little bit about celebrating with your team, your doctors, and your patients, and a little bit about COVID and the effect that COVID had on your practice. So without further ado, please welcome Kelly Lynch to the Raving Patients Podcast.
Hi, Dr. Tao. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, welcome. And by the way, go ahead and call me Len. I hate Dr. Tao in these, so call me Len. I much prefer Len. Look, I don't even like my patients calling me Dr. Tao half the time, so definitely please call me Len. I appreciate that. So, Kelly, thank you for joining me. I look forward to sharing or spending the next 45 minutes with you. For those that don't know who you are, and you're based in Maine, you're an office manager, you're a consultant, you have a lot of other things that you do. Why don't you spend a couple of minutes sharing with the viewers and listeners a little bit about who Kelly Lynch is?
Happy to. I was born and raised in Maine. I live in southern Maine right now, and I started my career in dentistry back in 1981. So over 3 decades ago, I did 10 years in hospital and retail management in between a couple of my offices, but always go back to dentistry. Always been my passion. And a few years ago, I started my own business, Platinum Practice Solutions, and I do coaching and I do speaking around the country to practices and to conferences in team building, communications, creating cultures, and creating systems. And I am currently in an office that I've been in for 2 years, and it's right down the road from me, which couldn't be any better. No more commuting, but I enjoy what I do, and I love to reach out to offices and see if there's anything that I can help them with. And that's how I found this lovely practice I'm with right now. Currently have some coaching going on and presentations. Just did the presentation at the Speaking Consulting Network. Scariest 10 minutes of my life, but learned immensely from the feedback, and looking to take my passion out to practices around the country.
Well, that's great. And you also are an author of a book, correct? 10 No's to Get Yes, Elevate Your Dental Practice Through Patient-Centered Care. So, and I'm an author too, so we share that as well. That's been a great way to get our messages across to other people as well. Mm-hmm. You mentioned your very short commute. I think you said 15 minutes.
2
minutes. Oh, 2 minutes. I'm sorry. 2 minutes from your house. You know, I have a long commute, as you probably know. I live in Florida, and I practice in Philadelphia. So my commute is 2.5 hour flight to my practice, which I do. Obviously I go up on Mondays, work Monday and Tuesday, and then I fly back Wednesday morning if there's no Tuesday evening flight. So I have a very long commute, obviously. So I'm envious. I'm envious of your commute, but I'm so used to flying now. I literally get on the plane, I go to sleep, I wake up and we land, and I just drive to my office. So it's not that bad. I've gotten used to it after doing it now for almost 9 months. So let's jump right into some of the things we wanted to talk about, and let's start with team cross training. Okay, I think that in this day and age, because of COVID, because of the high unemployment, I think offices are really struggling with their team. I know I'm short a team member. I'm short one dental assistant. I've not been able to hire someone. I've put ads in numerous places and have had almost no response to it, or the responses are just not qualified at all. So I've had to obviously cross-train my team so they can handle multiple things. I have one front desk person for a busy office. We don't take insurance, so obviously that limits what my person at the front needs to do. I have 2 dental assistants. I have 1 hygienist. And I have 1 dentist. I have 1 associate. So let's talk about your feelings on cross training, the importance of it, why you think it needs to be done. So why don't you take over? We'll start with that topic.
Right. It's one of my favorite topics. I absolutely love talking to practices about team cross training. And how I present it to the teams, because you always get that pushback. Well, I don't have time to learn more duties. I don't have time to do that. When are we going to make time to do that? And the question boils down to, if we don't do it and something happens, are we going to send you all home, or are we going to stay and take care of patients? So it's always been my philosophy that everyone should learn a little bit about each other's areas of expertise. Obviously, a front-end administrator isn't going to be able to go in and do a hygiene appointment, but they are able to help the hygienist turn over rooms. They are able to learn the sterilization processes and infection control processes to help keep the clinical team on schedule. And what does that boil down to? Patient satisfaction. Who wants to have patients waiting for 20, 30, 40 minutes because you don't want to go back and clean the room, or you don't want to go back and run the instruments? Same with the assistants. The assistants should be able to go over and answer the telephone properly. They should be able to talk to a new patient and know exactly what to ask and know exactly how to get that patient scheduled, and go in and help the hygienist do charting. Back and forth. The hygienists. I love my hygienists. Every office I've ever been in, they always love to step up. They always love to say, I want to learn something more. How can I better help the rest of the team? And that culture is the most wonderful culture to have, because when you have everybody wanting to pitch in just to make sure that the patients are taken care of and that the team goes home not exhausted at the end of the day, then once you've got that system in place and once you've got those cross trainings done, it's amazing how quickly people just start feeding off each other. It's like they know from 1 minute to the next, I'm going to go over here. Oh, look, there's instruments. Oh, I'm going to the restroom. Look, I'm going to go take care of that room before I do that. Those kinds of things are just what I believe makes a huge difference in going into work every day and loving what you do, or going into work every day going, now what's going to happen? And wait for the shoe to drop. So I'm a big advocate for cross training.
And I agree with that. I have a newer person at the front. The front's the one position. Over the years, I have not been able to keep someone, I would say 2-3 years max, and then they move on. I was extremely lucky to hire someone who is in a management position at a DSO, like 14 locations. She was overworked and overwhelmed, and she wanted to tone down. And now she works, I don't want to say I have an office manager because I have a really small office, but she has really taken upon herself to kind of do all the things that we need. Yesterday we were short a dental assistant. She was on vacation July 4th. We're recording this July 4th, the week of July 4th. And so she filled in. She would clean the room. She would help out the one assistant who was there. So I love the fact that they want to help out. And I will tell you this: it pays off in the long run, because I see that, and I will reward that when it comes to the bonuses and stuff that they earn at the end of the year. Because I love that team approach. I'm curious though. There are so many different services now that do remote services for the office. So I'm curious how you feel about that and incorporating. Yes, you have cross training, but if you are struggling hiring someone, especially nowadays, how you feel about actually getting some of the tasks that I don't want to call them mundane tasks, but some of those tasks that can be remoted out, to hire a remote person to handle some of those.
Exactly. I mean, if you're definitely heavy into PPOs and you're definitely more heavy on the insurance side, I very much advocate looking into outsourcing that. That is a very, very time-consuming project. Every single day, every single week, you've got to be insurance verifying. You've got to be knowing what the patient's spent so you can give them the correct estimates. You've got to be able to keep up on that. And of course, if you refer out, you have to know what the specialist's office took off the top for that insurance benefit. Because if you're quoting a benefit on your end and the specialist took out $800, that does not leave $1,250 for your patient. So I do believe in looking at services that are going to help. I also believe in setting up systems that might make things a little bit smoother running. Things that, I'm the only administrator in my practice right now. And for the last 3 offices I've been in, I was the only administrator in the front. So I totally know how overwhelming it can get. And I totally know how frustrated I could be if I left the office with things unfinished. So there are things that I think should be looked at, but I do believe that time management and really focusing on setting up systems. When am I going to do my verifications? When am I going to do my courtesy calls? There are a lot of products out there and services out there that allow you to have your courtesy reminder calls or your courtesy COVID texting done. And you can pay for that, or you can look at different systems as well. And I can certainly talk to practices about what might work best for them.
Gotcha. So let's talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I actually have a workshop called The Art of the Sale, which is based on case acceptance. I have a really good case acceptance. The only reason that I can't get someone to say yes is they just can't afford my fees, or they can't come up with money, or I can't get them financing. Yep. That's the only reason someone says no to me. I just can't afford your fees. Yeah. So otherwise they usually say yes. And I'm very good at case acceptance. So I've developed this workshop. So, and I had multiple people on this podcast who have, the whole episode's been dedicated to case acceptance. So I love that. But let's talk about, increasing case acceptance. I know you said you wanted to talk about what the right words and the motivation are. So I'm curious what your take on this topic is.
This is great. I'm so glad that you do this workshop, because maybe you and I can talk about this a little bit more. What I have found is when a patient says no to a treatment, it's either they got into the financial part and they can't afford your fees, which it's okay. There's nothing wrong with them not being able to afford your fees. If they can't come up with some way to financially do it, then there's certainly other options available. But what I have found is if a patient gets to me at the front and they still have doubts or questions about why something needs to be done, I know that somewhere along the back we forgot something, we didn't do something. And one of the biggest things that my clinical team is now realizing is they are not giving all of the options. They are not telling the patient, they're saying, you need this, or, oh, you've got this big crack, you need that. But they're not explaining to some of our patients that need that little bit of extra explanation. What happens if we leave that crack untreated? What happens if we leave that filling that is lifting up, leaking? What's going to happen? So by the time they get to me, hopefully, all of the conversations have been had. What will happen if they get it taken care of? What are their benefits? All right, if you get this crack taken care of now, or you get this fractured cusp taken care of now, and I'm using the dental terms. Don't use the dental terms. Dumb it down in the clinical room, because they don't understand what a cusp is. They don't understand what a leaking amalgam is. They just need to know what's going on in their terms. And for the most part, by the time they get to me, the transfer is then done from the back to the front. Do you recommend transferring the information from the back to the front, Leonard?
So I actually, and you probably don't know this about me. I am the one, I do both treatment planning myself, and I do the financial discussion with them. That's my job in the office.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, so that's why I've just never given it up. But look, I'm a salesperson, and
Me too.
I sell Bird Eye, I sell all these other things, So I'm very good at sales, and I just have never relinquished that role. It was originally a role
Wow.
of my office manager when I first bought my practice, just shy of 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And patients were walking out after they were seemed super excited. They weren't accepting treatment. She ended up leaving about a year after I bought the practice, and at that point, I took it over. And I've just been so good at it, I've never decided to give that up in my own practice. So
Right.
I know how much things cost. I know which financing companies I need to use. I know how to present the treatment and the finances to them, and that's why I'm really good. But again, most gurus, okay, and we're both gurus, will tell you that the dentist should not be doing that.
Right.
I happen to be very comfortable, so I do that. So if the dentist isn't comfortable, then yes, I think there's the handoff has to be super clean, super imperative to make sure, as you said, explaining we call it the PCOS, the problem, the consequence,
Yes.
and the solution. Why do they need it? What do they need to do with it? And why do they need to do the specific, what you can do to fix the problem? It has to be explained in a way that the patient understands what will they be losing if they don't fix it now. Also.
Exactly.
So they're motivated to do it now rather than wait to fix it when it breaks later on. So yes, I am a big believer in that handoff when the doctor doesn't do it themselves.
Right.
So,
Okay. Fair enough. So basically, what the handoff for our office looks like is the clinical person, whether it's the hygienist or it's the assistant, will come out and they will explain exactly everything went as planned today. Doctor is recommending crown on number 13. There's a large fracture, and we want to get that taken care of as soon as possible. She'd like to see her back within the next week to 10 days. We already go over this in our morning huddle. Doctor knows when her next priority opening is, so she knows she has that ability to move that forward. I then take over, or the administrator, or the financial coordinator, whoever it is in the practice that talks the money. I then go over their estimate. This is the estimated cost of your treatment that doctor is recommending, and would like to get you in within the next week to 10 days. I have Friday the 2nd at 10 a.m., or I have Tuesday the 12th at 8 a.m., which would work better for you. And I give them two choices. I learned that years and years ago from my favorite lady, Linda Miles. You give them two choices and let them pick. If they look at the finances and they say, oh, I can't afford that, all right, I step back. Okay, let's talk about our finance. Have I ever gone over, and I'm not going to plug different companies here, but have we gone over our financing options with you? And I will go over that. And as soon as I make it comfortable, and I use that word a lot, I want to find something that's comfortable for your budget to get this treatment taken care of so it doesn't cost you more in the future. And they just immediately hone into that. And right now I'm able to lock in about 80% of our treatment that comes out of the back. I'm able to lock that into a scheduled appointment and have the finances done. You get that 20 to 30% that are going, I just can't do it. And when I dig a little bit deeper in the conversation, I will ask them, so say for instance, I'm not going to have that crown done, I'm going to have it extracted. Okay. And were the options to replace that extracted tooth discussed with you? Well, no, I'm just going to leave it. Okay. Do you know what will happen when that tooth is extracted and you don't replace it with another tooth? And they get really quiet. Now their wheels are turning. Now they need a little more explanation. And we go into all those different, so it's a whole process, and this is just touching base on a little bit of it, but there's certainly ways to make things comfortable in their budget, to give them the options for scheduling, and to let them know why the benefits of the treatment are the best option for them and what will happen if they decide to forego treatment.
So you like the word comfortable. The word comfortable is something you like using. So I use words like flexible, affordable, because obviously, people on their website say, we offer no interest financing. I say we have affordable financing options. Excuse me, because, patients who don't need or can't afford no interest financing, which, as you probably know, with all the companies out there, we cannot get them more than 24 months no interest. It just doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Yeah. Yeah.
So if somebody can't afford a monthly payment that fits into that 24 months no interest, they have to use an interest bearing option. But there are some companies out there that charge only 1% to the practice. 1% if the patients get a loan that charges them interest. So for those practices that are out there, and there's many of them listening to it, and I speak to them, and they say, well, we don't offer financing because we don't like to pay the high percentage to the financing companies. You can get a 1%, which is less than a credit card payment.
Exactly.
So to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why there's so many offices who shy away from these. And they rather self-finance in the office. They rather do some type of payment plan in the office, which to me is absolutely insane to have to be the bank for longer than a couple. Look, I do it, and someone asked me yesterday, do I do in-house financing? I only do one type of in-house financing. Actually, two types. If you're doing like a partial and you're doing it for 4 appointments, well, you can pay me in 4 appointments. To me, I don't consider that financing, but it's you pay over your treatment, and when the treatment's done, you pay me in full. It's done. That's one. The second thing is for Invisalign. You pay half down is one option, and then you pay off over 12 months in office. I don't mind financing that because the patient has to come in to do their treatment. That's the only type of in-house stuff I'll do. I do not want to be the bank. So I find it, I don't want to say funny, but I find it interesting that some practices are so against doing these third-party finances because they don't want to pay what they perceive as the high percentage. And yes, some companies are not inexpensive, but I'd rather get 85% of something than 0% of zero.
Exactly. I worked with an office recently, about 1.5 years ago. Absolutely did not want to do any financing. They did all of the banking in the office. They had so many running treatment plans and payment plans going that when I went in there, and I just was like, do you realize how much time is taken in doing the follow-up every month for these payment plans that you're doing? And so I actually had a couple companies come in and sit down with Doctor and go over everything because she was hearing all these different things and she just wasn't understanding the benefits of having some of these lower rated type payment companies coming in and helping her. And to my knowledge, right now she has 2 different companies working for her now. She does not do any more monthly payment plans in the office, and all of them are cleaned up and done. And the conversations with the patients were, we can no longer be your bank, basically, and we're going to help you finance and comfortably find something that's going to work for your budget. So I was very proud of her.
I think that works well. I think taking upon the new terms, I think finding the right words that work for you is really important as well. So I like the right words for the practice. So moving on to the next topic, patients paying, which is super important. I'm also really interested to hear what you have to say about keeping patients after, there's a lot of practices who are getting frustrated with the reimbursements that you're getting from the insurance companies. As I told you before we recorded, I have always been out of network with insurance companies. I've never been in network. And that's just shy of 15 years now. In July of 2017, I hired my associate, and she felt that she couldn't survive out of network. So she went in network with probably 6 or 7 plans. And for 3 years, I don't want to say it wreaked havoc on my practice, but it was not great for the practice. When she left, and she was a great associate, but when she left in June of last year, I hired my new associate in August, and she chose to go out of network. So we are back fully out of network. So I've never been, my practice has been, I've never been in network, but I know so many practices are trying or really struggling with the insurances, the reimbursements, the denials, everything that you know about. So I want to hear what you have to say about potentially exiting the PPOs, what the ramifications of that is, but making sure the patients are coming back and continue to pay.
Right. Well, the first thing I need to say about this is when you make the decision as an office to go out of network with PPOs, you don't just cut and run. It is a process. It is something that I recommend you spend a good 6 months before the date in discussing with your team, discussing with your patients, discussing with your associates who are with you. the reasons why you're doing it. Everyone needs to be on the same page when they're talking about, well, why are you leaving the PPOs? And simply put, it's because they're reducing their rate of reimbursement every year. And as soon as you get into one, you think I'm in one PPO, and you look, now you're in an umbrella. There's 4, 5, 6 other companies that are under this one umbrella. And now you're getting your name out there on all these different companies, and patients are coming to you just because you take their insurance. I'm currently in the third office that started with being in network. The first 2 offices I was with, we were heavy PPOs, and went from the first one from a PPO heavy office to a fee-for-service office. There's the difference between going straight from in-network to fee-for-service and how you do that process. And again, it's all in communicating with the patients. The second office I was with, he had 3 PPOs. 2 of them were umbrellas, so we ended up having 8 different companies we had to break ties with, and went to an assignment of benefits office. So we accepted the assignment of benefits for those that paid us directly, and fee for service for those that paid the subscriber. And I'm currently doing the same thing now. When I first started with this office, she had 9 PPOs and Main Care, which is the state's Medicaid program. The Main Care program, I wish would pay better, but they don't. She had 20 patients on that Main Care program, and 18 of them abused their appointments regularly. Either didn't show up, showed up late, or just canceled last minute. So that was an easy one to make the decision on. In looking at all of these, you need to first have a plan to discuss with your team why you're doing it, so they can say why you're doing it when a patient looks them in the face and says, well, why are you leaving my insurance company? And then secondly, you need to have a plan for conversations with each patient coming into your practice. I recommend strongly printing out or having a folder of all of your insurance plans and talking to each of those patients as they come in. The next time you come in, Mrs. Jones, you're going to find that we're going to be what's called out of network with the insurance company. Say it's Northeast Delta Dental is a big one in my area. So we're going to be out of network with Northeast Delta Dental on October 1st. And this is how it's going to affect you. And, showing them whether it's going to affect them at all or if it's going to affect them a little. And you know that by looking at what their insurance coverages have been in the past versus what your standard fees are now. Going over all of those conversations. What I find is patients who are loyal, patients who love your practice because of how you take care of them, how you work with them, are the ones that are going to stay with your practice. During that whole 6-month time frame, you're conversing, whether it's the doctor, because the doctor's going to be asked a million times, well, why can't you just stay with my insurance? I don't want to leave you. And the first thing that this doctor says is, you don't have to leave me. This is just how it needs to be done for our business because we want to stay small, all right? If you're a small office, we enjoy the one-on-one. We enjoy the intimacy of having a smaller practice, and we want to make sure that we are able to continue to care for you in the way that you've become accustomed to be cared for. And I can tell you honestly, in that 6 months from the time we started talking until October 1st hit, I think one sheet of paper, one lined sheet of paper is all of the patients that have left the practice. So about 24. And 3 of them have come back. So what I found fun is the other 2 independent offices in my area are now going out of network. So the only ones left are the corporations. So there are 2 bigger corporations in my area, and they're the ones that are staying in network, obviously. So we're all on the same level field. So if this happened across the country, that would be amazing. And I'm seeing more and more of it. People are reaching out. How do you go out of network? How do you do it the right way? And there is a process. There is a system to make it work correctly. and to still have those patients coming in saying, I'm not leaving you, I'll pay. And they're happy, they're paying patients, and they're scheduling and keeping their appointments. And that's all you can ask for when you're making this big change. So
100%. So, and I agree with everything you said there. I think the way you're dealing with patients, the way you're handling things in the office. Look, when we went out of network, I didn't want to lose the patients we had necessarily. So a couple of them who really put up a stink, I told them that I would accept the in-network fees for a while so they can see. A couple of them said they would, as you said, they would go elsewhere, which they did. They realized you're not getting the same level of customer service, same level of dental care, and they come back and they say, "Look, I've made a mistake. I want to come back." And
Right.
we gladly will take them back. I don't burn any bridges with patients as much as I can. So especially if they leave, I think, okay, I understand. So that's really good. That's really good information. I think the listeners and the viewers will really take to that. So I think one of the things is if you're interested in exiting the PPOs, you can reach out to Kelly, and she can assist you with that, it sounds like. So I think that's a really good goal for some practices as we move, away from COVID and into the next generation of patient care.
Right.
So speaking of COVID, let's talk about COVID, customer service. Look, COVID was horrible when it happened. The 60 days that my practice was closed was brutal. We opened in March, in May of last year, and obviously it's been booming ever since. The interesting thing is that I like some of the changes we made during COVID, and like I like not having a waiting room. I really do. I like patients waiting in the car, and when the time comes for their appointment, they come on in the office. I like that. I don't think I'm ever going to change that. It reduces the need for snacks. Yes, I had a spa-like setting. I had snacks. I had water. I had hot towels. I mean, we don't need to do that anymore because the expectation isn't there. So I'm curious. I know did COVID kill your customer service is what you wanted to talk about. So why don't we get some ideas from where you stand there?
Well, I'll tell you, COVID really did a number on everyone. And here in Maine, we were down for about 60 days. And we have, had to make all of the transitions that everyone else had to make. And we reopened in May of 2020. And like you said, it's been nonstop crazy. It's been amazing. And in doing the reopening and going out of network and changing softwares, we did a huge software conversion as well. All of the things that we were worried about losing kind of took care of themselves. Like you said, we took all the magazines out of the waiting room. We don't call it that. We call it the reception area. But all the magazines are gone. We do have a TV. We do allow 2 people in at a time. So we do have a TV running. And, I used to years ago think, I got to have dental things running all the time. And we don't. We have the travel channel because people want to be traveling right now. So we have the travel channel running. We have, Rick Steve's Europe trips. We have gardening. And people love that. If they're waiting for the 3 minutes from the time they come in and we get them checked in to being taken back, they're like, oh, I want to see the garden thing. But one of the things that I have found works really well is we came up with different ways of doing customer service in our practice, and I solicited the help of my team. Because no better people than the people you're surrounded with to come up with some really great ideas. So we do gift basket drawings. This month it's ice cream month, so we have little gift cards from our local creamery to go get a little ice cream for our patients. We stick it in their goodie bags, and we send them text messages telling them how wonderful it was to see them that day. The ladies even do a warm fuzzy every day. They pick a patient in their schedule and they take a little blank note card and they just write a little warm fuzzy. Hey, it was great to see you today, Len. Everything was amazing with your visit. If you need anything, you know how to reach out to us. We'll see you at your next ReCare appointment on December 22nd. Or, Hey, thank you for showing us the picture of your new grandson. Oh, he's adorable. Enjoy the next 6 months. We'll talk more when you come in next time. And the assistants do it. I do it. I pick somebody that I love in the schedule that day and send a little warm fuzzy. And we do little referral thank yous. We send a little $10 Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks card, and just say thank you for being thinking that we're referring your friends and family to us. Thank you for your loyalty. And every single time, it's amazing. They come in and they say, wow, that was just so nice. It's just the little things that make the difference. And we used to give out flowers and chapsticks and, ice scrapers and everything else. But we found that just doing the little unexpected things, patients are finding that to be much more one-on-one, much more, customer service for them. So I'd be curious to hear some of the things that you've heard implemented from other people.
Overall, I think some of the very similar things. I'm big into calling patients after hours to check in on them. I still think that's something that's a lost art that a lot of people don't do.
Mm-hmm.
I think patients appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I call new patients before they come in the office. That's one of the biggest reasons why I have such great case acceptance. Is I speak to them, I call them, I introduce myself, I welcome them to the practice. I also want to get a leg up and find out what's really going on with them, so I can get them to do the things I need to do them to do in preparation for the appointment, look at their finances, figure out budgets. Because if they come in and they have no idea about their budgets, they're not accepting treatment, and that's a problem. So, but, I think that just treating them the way you treated them before, but, obviously with the COVID restrictions which are being released, you just have to do things in your practice to welcome them with open arms and make sure that they are a welcome addition to the office, and you want to treat them the best and make sure that they stay in the practice, because patient attrition is obviously a problem for practices. The cost of customer acquisition or the cost of patient acquisition is really high right now.
Right.
And so I think the key is just to maintain what you've been doing. And I think I hate to say it, patients use COVID as an excuse. I think practices can still use the lack of some of the spa-like features that they may not be doing. Like I said, no waiting room, no towels for their hands. We do have a TV, and that we don't even have in the front desk running anymore. But those things that people expected, I think that because COVID's still technically a thing, I think you can still get away without offering those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that we implemented years ago, and I brought it to this practice, was I've made it part of the new patient registration is the getting to know you form. And it's very much what you were just talking about is, what is it that's held them back? What have their experiences been like in the dental practice? What are the things that hold them back from getting treatment done? What are the, whether it's time or it's money, or they don't know how to, they can't schedule everything. They want to do as much as they can in one appointment, or, they want to do smaller appointments because they have sore jaw, things like that. So we've implemented that, and what's nice is because it takes right on the very back of it, at the very bottom, it says, if you could change anything without money involved, what would you change about your teeth? And I want to say 99% of the time is, I would like my teeth to be beautiful and white and pretty, anything along that line. So it just opens up the conversation with the clinical on all the things that we can offer to help you get to this goal. And when a patient does leave, I did want to let you know that we send a lovely exit letter telling them that we're going to miss them. We understand their decision to leave, and that the door is always open if they find that it's not working to their benefit at their other office. And that's why 3 more people have decided to come back after leaving. So they said, we got this letter and we just kept it. So those are little things that just make a huge difference on the customer service. And, we can't smile under the mask right now, but they have clear ones, and I bought some. And so when patients come in, I can smile. They can see my teeth. They can see me smiling at them. So, anything that might help a little bit to make the patients feel comfortable when they come in, I think is going to really benefit any practice that's looking to figure out, how do I get my customer service back and how do I up the game a little bit?
Gotcha. I think that's great. So last topic we want to talk about was celebrating with the team, the doctor, and your patient. So what do you have to say on that?
I just think you need to take every opportunity to celebrate your doctors and your team, because basically you guys are spending so much time together that those little celebrations, unexpected celebrations, mean a lot. This month, like I said, July is ice cream month. So doctor came in with huge gallons of ice cream for the team. She tried to get some of every flavor that she thought the team might like. And, one month we did banana splits. One month we did a bowling trip. We said, well, let's just go bowling this afternoon. And, the little things, team anniversaries, hygiene and assisting months, and the doctor day. Those are things that, when you walk in and you've got a little surprise, a little plant or a little flower or a cake. I made, one of my hygienists said something about liking carrot cake. So that weekend I made a carrot cake and brought it in for no reason. Here you go. Here's a carrot cake. And the team just loves stuff like that. So I just think celebrating, it just makes the days more fun. And letting the team pick the music, if you play music in the office, within reason. So every morning I'll say, okay, Sue, what music do you want to hear today? And we'll put it on that Pandora station, or if the doctor wants to listen to country, we put country on that side, and we'll put, classical or something on the other side. It's just fun to be able to, let your team know that you're thinking about them and that you're spending time with them is important to you, and you want to make it enjoyable.
Gotcha. No, I think that's great. I think celebration is great. I think we do something in the office that's called a daily grab. So we have certain goals we like to achieve, from whether it's keeping the schedule filled to a certain production goal, a certain collection goal. Yeah. And when we get these goals achieved, the girls can pick from it's like a shoe bag with poker chips in there with certain denominations on there, anywhere from $5 to $100. So I like to, if we do well, I like to reward the team, and I think it's really important as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and paying your team what they're worth. I mean, I know that's a sore topic for some people, but when you have A+ team members and you have extraordinary team members, you're going to keep them by making sure that they feel appreciated. And it's not always about the money, but it is always about letting them know how much you value them and how much you appreciate them. Because if they don't feel appreciated, they're going to go somewhere else where they think they might be. And it might be that they're dangling a little bit more money in front of them, and that's going to be the deciding factor for them. But I know that there's teams all across the country that, they feel appreciated, but they're not being cared for. They're not being told that. And so I'm big on making sure I thank each and every team member before they leave at the end of the day. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for doing a wonderful job. And I thank you for allowing me to be able to work with you, because it's been a pleasure. And it changes them. It changes their mindset. And, I had one team for 13 years, and we all stayed together, and it was just from appreciation. It's just a matter of making sure that they're cared about. And it goes for the doctors too. I love to tell my doctor every day, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to work with you, because it is a true pleasure. And, I always make sure the doctor knows if somebody says something good, I run and tell the doctor, because the doctor needs to hear those things. It can be a very mundane day when you're just hearing all day long, I hate going to the dentist. I like you, but I hate you.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
Like you, but I hate you.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice when you hear good things. And I praise my doctor all the time. I will assist sometimes when we get really tight. And I'm always like, my goodness, that filling, that looks so good. Oh my gosh, you should see this. The blending is perfect. Like, how did you get that color so great? And the patient's just like, oh, wow, she's doing a really good job, So it's just using the words that make you feel good and being sincere about them, I think makes a huge difference.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to get to and by the way, the content was great. Thank you so much for sharing your information. I think we really gave some great information to the audience. Before we wrap up, I want to spend a couple minutes going to a section that has become very popular. It's the kind of get to know Kelly Lynch with Would You Rather. So I now have switched to, for those that are curious, I don't use the cards anymore. I use an app, which you can't see, but it's called Would You Rather. It's called Pod Decks, and they have all these different decks of cards online on this app now. So we're going to ask you some Would You Rather questions, Kelly. Nothing inappropriate, I promise you that. So all appropriate questions. I forgot to mention that to you. Okay.
All right.
So first, would you rather never do laundry again or the dishes again?
The dishes.
Okay. This is an interesting one. Would you rather be handcuffed or zip tied?
Let's see. Zip tied.
I don't think either, but you don't have a choice there. That's not
I had a
not
choice.
a choice there. I'm not gonna. No, let's see. Let's see. Would you rather face your worst fears head on, maybe speaking in front of the audience at SCN, or confess your greatest sins online and have it go viral? Terrible.
Oh, dear Lord. Everything that happened before the internet was amazing, and no one will ever know. I'd rather face my worst fear.
Okay. Would you rather bring back Michael Jackson or Prince?
Oh. Oh, my goodness. That's a tough one. Can we do a Michael Prince? I would have to say Michael Jackson. Yeah.
Okay. So would you rather ask your significant other to give up their career for your dream, or you give up your career for theirs?
Oh. You know what? If I asked my husband, he would probably say yes, because I know he's close to retiring. So that's a tough one. I don't know. I think I'd have to pass on that one. I wouldn't want either of us giving up our dream.
Okay. All right. French fries or tater tots?
French fries.
Okay. Nope. Let's see. It's food. I don't want to ask another food question. Nope. Okay. Would you rather be the face of an alcoholic beverage or cigarette brand?
Oh, gosh. No way for cigarettes. I'd rather be an alcoholic beverage. Maybe a classy one.
Would you rather have James Earl Jones or Arnold Schwarzenegger as the voice of your GPS mapping system?
Oh, James Earl Jones. I love my Arnold, but no, James Earl Jones.
I don't like that one either. Okay, would you rather never have to wake up early or never watch what you eat again?
Oh, I'd love to never watch what I have to eat again.
Okay. Hey, that's good. So, would you rather sit in the front of the class or at the back of the class?
Oh, I'm always in the front. It's just the nerd in me.
Okay. I have one that I always ask from the deck of cards, but I'm going to ask you this last one here, and then I'll ask you one more. Would you rather be afraid to try new things or be so open-minded that you never say no to anything?
Would I rather be afraid to try new things or be so open-minded that I would try anything? Open-minded.
Okay. So it's funny. I told you I was going to ask you a question from the deck, but this question came up. So I'll ask you this one, and then I'll ask you the other question. They're very similar. Would you rather never download any new apps again on your smartphone or never upgrade yourself to a new smartphone?
Oh, God, I hate upgrading. I'd rather never have to upgrade again.
Okay. All right. And then the question I was going to ask you, which I think is a great question, would you rather never to be able to use your apps again or never to be able to use search engines again?
Oh, that's not fair.
Tough question. Tough question, which is why I like that one.
Never to use apps again or never to use search engines? Never to use apps again. I need my search engines.
Hey, I think search engines are the key to finding things online. So
Yep.
I agree. I think I can survive
I
without
can
without
survive
apps.
without my apps. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you for being such a good sport and answering those questions.
My pleasure.
So, as we wrap up, why don't you give people, I know you said you wanted to offer them something. Why don't you give them that offer and then how they can get in touch with you as well if they want to find out more about how you can help them?
Sure, yeah. So for the first 5 emails that I receive, I will be giving a 30-minute complimentary conversation with the practice to find out if there are things within the practice that you might want some assistance with. And I will also be giving you a signed copy of my book. So that's for the first 5 people to email me at kelly@platinumpracticesolutions.com.
Perfect. All right. And and your website is platinumpracticesolutions.com.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, Kelly, this was great. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, expertise with the listeners and the viewers. Guys, if you liked the episode, please reach out to Kelly and get her to help your practice. If you liked the episode, tell your colleagues about it. Share this episode with your friends and colleagues. Subscribe to the episode, even review the episode. Our episodes come out every week, 1 p.m. on Fridays. So pay attention to the next episode. Like I said, it comes out weekly at 1 p.m. Kelly, you were awesome. Thanks for being such a wonderful guest.
Thank you.
And for those listening, we didn't talk about reviews, but remember, your reputation matters.
It does.
Until the next episode, thanks again, Kelly, and we'll talk to you guys soon.